Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about the book of Romans and why it was written. The book of Romans was written by Paul to the church in Rome, and he wrote it to address some problems that the church in Rome had. Some of those being that the Jews in the church looked down on the Gentiles, and the Gentiles is a group of people that encompass everybody who isn't a Jew. And they looked down on them because the Jews have grown up reading the Old Testament and doing life a certain way. And then these Gentiles just come in and are like, oh yeah, we believe in God and we're now going to live this way. And we're one of you guys now. And they're like, no, you're not. You're not a Jew. You're not one of us. Why are you here? And so Paul writes to the church in Rome to address this issue because the Gentiles are a part of that church and they need to be accepted by the Jews. And so he actually brings up in Romans 4, he brings up Abraham and how Abraham was justified by faith before he was ever circumcised, which is something that the Jews believe should be done extremely early. It says in Romans 4:9-10, it says, "Is this blessedness only for circumcised or also for uncircumcised? We have been saying that Abraham's faith was credited to him as righteousness. Under what circumstances was it credited? Was it after he was circumcised or before? It was not after, but before." He straight up calls out the fact that Abraham, the father of nations, the father of the Jewish nation, their ancestor who they look up to and pass down his story from generation to generation, how he had faith before he was ever circumcised, and how his faith was called righteous. How he, the father of nations, was righteous and justified by faith before he was ever circumcised. By doing this, he calls out the prejudice that the Jews have, and he calls out how the Gentiles are not the bad guys here. They are completely fine. But instead, he calls out the Jews in saying, hey, your, forefather was a Gentile. He was not, he was the start of this line. He was not considered a Jew. He was not circumcised until he was older. And so because of this, Paul, who is a Jew himself and who knows what they're thinking, is able to point out things in their own history and in a way that they would understand and be like, hey, what are you doing? This is not right. And so because of this, the church in Rome, it becomes better. It becomes stronger in its belief and in its community, because the Jews are no longer looking down on the Gentiles, but they are accepting them as brothers and sisters in Christ. And because the Gentiles are accepted, they can all grow stronger together as a community, which is something that, unfortunately, in today's world, we struggle with. It's not necessarily Jews and Gentiles anymore, because everybody is so mixed nowadays. Most churches consist of Gentiles with some Jews in them. Today, the issue is unfortunately racism. It's the color of our skin that then when you see somebody who's the opposite skin tone or a different skin tone of you, you look at them with these eyes of do I really have to worship with you? I don't know if I want to do that. And I would strongly suggest that you look back and you read Romans, where Paul addresses that just because you are something that the other person's not, it doesn't make you better. It doesn't make you right. It makes you different and unique. And I hope this helped with your understanding of Romans. Bye!